and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. This is what's coming up on the program right now. House of Representatives threatens to subpoena executive of cryptocurrency trading platform Binance for failing to honor an invitation of the Green Chamber. In order to mitigate avoidable pitfalls, civil servants union asks the federal government to review the Stephen Oronsaya's report before implementation. Trouble continues in the Benue State chapter of the All Progressives Congress as the governor and the SGF loyalists continue to grandstand over party leadership structure. Today on the program, we hear from all sides. Let's take you around the country in about 28 minutes on what's going on across the nation. The lower legislative chamber is a good place to kick off, where we're tracking happenings in the polity. The House of Reps Committee on Financial Crimes has resolved to issue warrant of arrest against executive of cryptocurrency platform Binance for failing to appear before it for an investigation. The chairman of the committee, Ginger Owusibe, says the warrant is necessary to compel the executive to appear before the lawmakers and responds to questions on allegations of sponsoring of terrorism and financial crimes. A lawyer who appeared before the committee on behalf of Binance and presented a written address explains that the board of the company is scared of coming to Nigeria for fear of further arrest by the government after executives in Nigeria were arrested last week over allegations of infractions, but that excuse was rejected by the lawmakers.
This committee has resolved to recommend the House of Reps to invoke its powers, its constitutional powers, by issuing a subpoena and also issuing a warrant for Binance executives to be arrested and brought to this committee to answer these questions. Questions relating to financing of terrorism, money laundering, and other financial crimes, as stated in the petition, including evasion of tax. That's the position of this committee. This committee will proceed to make these recommendations, and other legislative actions will follow.
Knowing from that, the planned implementation of the Steve Oronsaya report on NDAs has evoked reaction from the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, who are asking the government to review the documents before trying to implement it. The president of the association, Mr. Tommy Etimokon, told journalists in Abuja that his members are not against the implementation of the report. However, it is important to take a second look at the document to reflect current realities. They are also asking for a unicameral chamber in the National Assembly.
As you are aware, since the announcement of the implementation by Mr. President in the last Federal Executive Council meeting, we have received several calls, messages from our members and stakeholders to know whether it's going to lead to job loss or what will be the effect, even though government has given assurance that there's not going to be any job loss. But we have to also look at it critically. This is a document that came into being in 2012. We are not against the implementation. What we want is that the document should be reviewed before implementation. And what we want is that the organized labor must be part of the implementation committee. We are also thinking that the issue of cutting the cost of governance, it should be holistic. We should look at the executive, we should look at the legislative, and also the judiciary. Today, as we speak, what is going on in the National Assembly, it has the capacity, yes, to make law for the country, but I feel very strongly, and collectively too, that if they cannot make the National Assembly to be on part-time, then they should make it a unicameral.
And staying in the nation's capital, the Minister of the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike, has hinted his administration is working towards implementing the 2018 FCT Act to enable the establishment of the FCT Civil Service Commission. During a meeting with the directors of the FCTA and FCDA in Abuja, it says the commission will be responsible for the employment, training, and discipline of the FCT civil servants. According to him, the ministry will forward the names of the first set of management team of the commission to the president in the coming days.
Shall we take the
You were clapping here when the
end of this afternoon's event. Mr. Sir,
Also, that is the latest coming from the FCT. But today on the program, one of the things we want to talk about as we progress is the issue of the APC internal crisis in Benue State. There has been a lot of disagreement between members of the All Progressives Congress in Benue State. As a matter of fact, this disagreement or infighting or altercation, whatever word you want to use to describe what's going on in Benue APC, started literally after they won that very remarkable election. Literally what I call transposition in politics. They literally took over the state from the PDP. But it appears that that honeymoon was not meant to last for long. Until today, 1 year, almost 1 year into the leadership of Governor Hyacinth Alia, there hasn't been peace. And of course, when politicians are fighting, who suffers? The people. Issues of governance will suffer, however you look at it. That's why it's still a conversation today about this food basket of the nation, as the state is called. I'm being joined on the program as we begin to explore exactly what is going on and the way forward as far as the APC battle over structural leadership in the state is concerned. I'm being joined from our Abuja studio by the Chief of Staff to the Governor, Mr. Paul Biam. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Biam.
So much.
Also joining us from Benue State, that's Makurdi, the Benue State capital, is the Publicity Secretary of the APC in the state, Mr. Dan Ihoman. Mr. Ihoman, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey.
I see that you're smiling, but I wonder whether there is so much to smile. But let me start with you, Mr. Dan. This appears to a lot of people, apparently, that this is like a proxy war. And loyalists across that are loyal to the governor as well as loyal to the SGF are fighting this battle, and it seems that there is no end to it. So, but let's go back to some basics. By your party's constitution as the APC, who is the leader of the party in the state? Mr. Dan.
Let me clarify very clearly that the constitution of the APC does not mention issues of leadership. Leadership in our party is a convention. So there is nowhere in the APC constitution where it says this is the leader of the party. It is by convention, the person who has held the party together, who has built the party, and who the people trust within the members of the party trust, becomes the leader of the party. And so let me make it very clear, the constitution of our party has not placed any person in charge as leader of the party. It is based on your ability to galvanize party together, sponsor the party, and the trust of the people, members of the party. They decide their leader.
I pose that question straight to you as well. You people are the party members. who leads the party at the state level? We conventionally know what it is, but what is going on in Benue now? We need to ask this very basic question. Mr. Paul?
The leader of the party in Benue State.
No, I'm talking to Mr. Paul, please. Just hold on, please, Mr. Hillman. Let Mr. Paul also respond to the question.
Well, let me thank you for giving me an opportunity to define certain things that appear to be very abnormal. This is not the first time we're having a political party and a government in the saddle of any political party at all. But the party we're talking about here is the APC, which by God's grace, I happen to be the secretary of that party in Benue State before my appointment as chief of staff to the governor. It is clearly defined in our constitution. For every society to thrive, there must be rules, there must be processes, and there must be procedure. We are all here because of rules. We are everywhere because of process and procedure. There's a constitution that guides the actions of a party, and the constitution is very specific, that the leader of the party is the governor of a state. Not only by constitution of the party, conventions of the party over time have demonstrated imperatively that the leader of the party is the governor of a state. In the case of Benue, the leader of the party by rules that governs the process of the party and by conventions and practice over time is the governor of a state who is elected on the platform of the APC. So these things are not anything new to any practicing politician. But be it as it may, why is it in question now? Why is the issue of who becomes a leader in question under Benue? It's a culmination of the things that have happened before this time. There's no struggle about who is the leader. The leader is the governor of a state elected under the platform of the APC. And this is common knowledge to every member of this party, even at the grassroots. And so it is not contestable. It is the governor of a state that is the leader. Now, why am I saying this? Why do I even have to make up and come here myself? I have to make this because biblically, 3 books wrote about in the Bible, in the New Testament, define who Jesus Christ was and his background. When Dr. Luke was writing, he was writing not because the story had not been told. He was writing and addressing King Theophilus to tell him the facts of the issue because he was an eyewitness. In this matter, I have not been only an eyewitness, I have been a participant, as secretary of the party overseeing the affairs of this party in the state. So I cannot be totally ignorant of the provisions of the law. I cannot also be ignorant of the processes and procedures that make up and the conventions and practices of the party over time. So define in any form, the leader of the party in the state is the governor. Thank you.
Let me come to Mr. Ihomun. The arguments apparently looks like what Mr. Paul and his group are saying is that they cannot stand a situation where they are being lauded over from Abuja. Is that a fair, or isn't that a fair argument, despite the fact that they understand the role that the SGF played in bringing the governor to power?
There is no laud over anywhere, but I want you to ask Paul to quote from our constitution, the constitution of the APC, which is the ground number of our party, where it says that the governor becomes leader of the party. He was just beating around the bush. He couldn't lay his hand on that part of the constitution. And as I've told you, that does not exist in our constitution. But I want to say this very simply, that the APC in Benue, the members of our party knows who is the leader of the party in the state. There's no single doubt about it. Let me make it very clear that our governor, His Excellency Reverend for the Highest and Aliyah, is even a new entrant in our party. He's barely 1 year in the party. And the party was built by critical stakeholders and members of our party over time. And of course, we gave him the platform that has made him the governor today and others. And so it is only the members of our party and stakeholders are only demanding that he respects and consults the party when taking critical decisions, basically. And so it's not even about the tussle of who is the leader or not. It is that he respects the party, responds to the party, and he carries the party along in critical making decisions of the party. And as you are aware, the governor himself just appointed an acting chairman of our party after a kangaroo proposed suspension of our state party chairman, Comrade Austin Agada, which was set aside by the National Working Committee of our party and the court. As we speak, the governor, anybody who calls Omakolo, the so-called acting chairman of our party, is in contempt of court. And so it is beyond conventions. It is who the people decide, as I've said.
Let me come to you, Mr. Paul, on this particular issue. The argument from what I have learned is the fact that, as he's mentioned, he said that the governor does not consult with those who were holding a structure before he came to that structure to become a leader and won the election. Maybe you respond to that. They have said the appointment of the SGF, your appointment as chief of staff, the speaker, which the, hold on, Mr. Paul. The appointment of the emergence of the speaker, which the SGF wanted Becky, the issue of the caretaker committee of the local government area. There was a contention even in Guma, one state constituency, where they had their way and the governor did not have his way. And then it zoomed into the issue of the leadership of the party, and we saw Makolo against Agada fighting who leads the party until the decisions of the court. Is the governor indeed not taking stakeholders along in his decision-making process as alleged?
Now, as the coordinator of this program, I would like you to be very specific as you ask questions so that I don't double myself into street journalism here, talking as somebody is talking. But to get to your question, you are asking whether the governor never consulted before appointments were made. And I told you that I became a member of this government from day one. And I had appeared on Channels Television here in Sunrise Morning and told the entire Nigerians that due consultations towards every appointment has been adequately met. And I told us also that since inception of power as the governor of the state under the platform of APC, three consultations have been made in general congresses called, stakeholders meeting called by the governor, at the instance of the governor. Consultations personally have been made. And I told you in the previous thing that if they provoke me further, it is not just consultation. It is a point where senior members of this party in the state have written names of purported appointments and given to the governor. Not all of them were taken because you cannot usurp the power of a governor to make appointments appropriately. When you have 19 commissioners and somebody somewhere who claims to be a leader by what? What does a leader? A leader is by rules. In our party, the APC, a leader is by convention. And these are practices that have been there over time. Indeed, let me also quote as a journalist, and this is verifiable. 3 weeks back, the leadership of the party in Abuja went to Benue and in a meeting and publicly proclaimed the governor of a state as the leader of the party in the state. What else can someone say? I am not here to struggle about who is the leader. I'm here to define the progress being made by my governor. I'm here to define the crisis that has occasioned my party, which I happen to be secretary at the point. And so I'm not here to define. By definition of who is a leader is clearly stated in the Constitution. Referring me to quote is Anabatro. What am I quoting for? By convention and by practice. Now, 2, is my governor consulting? The answer is simply yes. When we're about to make commissioners, and let me go further. Before now, I was being generous. I was being a bit slow in taking on certain positions because I told channels and audience that if they provoke me further, I have a list of names written by the so-called people in Abuja sent to the governor, which by my position as chief of staff, I'm privy to have them in red pink, allocating portfolios and positions that we wish that those persons be appointed onto. This is not just a mere say. And any other time I have the privilege of appearing before you to buttress my point further, I'm going to show this to the world to see that this is what came, the list that came from Mr. A, and this is the list because their names are signed and their signatures are appended to it. Let me tell you the crisis in Benue. The crisis is not about the governor. The crisis is not whether consultations have not been made. There will be no governor in a state that will submit himself and allow someone else to come and dictate about how things will be governed in the state. How do you become a governor? You become a governor through this process. First, becoming a member of a party. Now, there are various and spurious accusations from my colleague. that
Mr. Biam.
the governor. Party is not founded by one
Mr. Biam, if you can hear me, Mr. Biam.
It's founded by a group of people coming together to agree.
Mr. Biam, if you can hear me, if I'm a button. Mr. Biam, if you can hear me, if I'm a button, it's important. I asked you a very simple and straight question based on the allegations made. What I expect you to say to Nigerians is, I have listed SGF position, chief of staff, speaker, caretaker. States to us which positions the governor consulted with that kind of, there was a concession to say, okay, given the fact that the SGF, played a role, these are the positions allotted to him. I'm just simple facts. That's just all I'm asking before I go back to Mr. Dan.
Listen to me. I'm going to re-emphasize that due consultations have been made in every appointment. First, understand that the position of a chief of staff is an exclusive personal appointment to the governor, which no other person would give him a chief of staff. It's personal to the governor. And so without consultation, the governor can go ahead and appoint. When we're constituting commissioners, the commissioner for agri, as presently constituted, is a candidate of the SGF, and I have evidence to that. The Attorney General, listen to me, the Attorney General of the state and Minister for and Commissioner for Justice and Social Order is a nomination of the SGF. The present, listen to me, the commissioner, the present advisor on agriculture, the present advisor on water resources and environment are all candidates of the SGF. Now, in consultation, you cannot take all. If you have an Attorney General of a state who oversees the entire constitutional formation of the state appointed by the SGF, if you have the Commissioner for Agri appointed by the SGF, the advisor for environment, and the advisor for agriculture. These are a result of consultation. And I move to other critical stakeholders.
We don't have so much time. My sincere apologies. Let me head to Makurdi. Mr. Dan, maybe you want to respond to some of the things that Mr. Paul has said.
Let me explain to you directly. It is people like Honorable Paul Bam that are misdirecting the governor. I'll give an instance. For example, out of the blues, the governor appointed an acting chairman. Where did the governor get that powers from? If you look at our constitution, where vacancies exist even, let's even take it that the chairman was suspended or died. The Article 31.5 of our constitution talks about vacancy. It says in an event where there's a vacancy of office, the office shall be filled as follows. In our case, is paragraph 2. In the case of a state officer, the local government executive committee shall propose a replacement to the local government congress for endorsement. Thereafter, the name shall be sent to the state executive committee for approval. Point 4, the name of the designated office of the above shall be forwarded to the national committee to receive. This was not followed, and each time our governor takes a decision that is at variance with our constitution, members of the party and stakeholders complain.
All right, Mr. Dan.
Like Honorable Paul Bam continue to misdirect the governor. APC is a party of law. We are the constitution of the party is the guiding principle. And no matter what,
Mr. Dan, I don't think I heard everything you said, but it's important we maintain civility. I don't think I picked everything you said, but I must thank you both for coming on the program. I understand my time is totally up. Mr. Dan Ihoman is the publicity secretary of the APC in Benue State, and Mr. Paul Biam is the chief of staff to the Governor Ayesenta Leah, Benue State. Thank you, gentlemen, both joining us from Abuja studio as well as our Zoom. I couldn't get all you were saying, so we had to cut in, but we must mention civility is quite important in our conversation here on Channels Television. We'll go on this break. When we come back, we'll bring you more stories. Join us again. Welcome back to more stories now. The Kogi State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Abuja has adjourned its hearing to Monday, March the 14th, 2024. This follows the Court of Appeal judgment, which had set aside inspection order earlier granted the governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Mr. Murtala Ajaka. At the day's proceedings, counsel to Ajaka, Mr. Jibrin Okutekpa, moved for tendering of INEC devices, but the counsel to the governor, Usman Ododo, Mr. Kano Gabi, drew the attention of the tribunal to the Court of Appeal judgment and an affidavit to that effect. In his response, Mr. Okutekpa says he has filed an appeal at the Supreme Court. The appeal court, Abuja, had on Friday set aside inspection order of beavers granted the candidate of the SDP by the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, insisting it must be jointly carried out with the respondent and the scope of the inspection should be within the strict limit allowed under the Electoral Act. And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and, of course, your usual company. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo. You've been served on Lunchtime.